want to earn more? Work less and enjoy what you do each day. It's no secret, it can be done. This podcast with Dr. T will not only educate and inspire you, it will also teach you how to do more and be more with the time you already have. It will be like a shot of adrenaline straight into the heart of your business. Here is your host, Tyson Franklin.
Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of It's No Secret with Dr. T. With me is a repeat offender. I have Super Joe Pardo. Now, Super Joe was back on the show way back in episode 43, and we were talking about Sales Won't Save Your Business, and that was the title of his book. If you haven't read it, go and get it. It's a great book to read. Heaps of useful information. But today, Joe is becoming a bit of a superstar. He has his own TV show in the United States. That's right. I have a TV personality on It's No Secret with Dr. T now. So, Super Joe, how are you doing today?
Hey, Super Dr. T. How are you? Or should I say Dr. Super T? Dr. Super T. How are you feeling today?
I'm great. I'm so glad you agreed to come back on again because you've done so much.
Why not?
I know we get on pretty well.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back on. It's always an honor to get to talk to you, whether it's on here or even off, on Facebook Messenger. I really appreciate it.
And we caught up. We got to meet in Philadelphia last year.
Philadelphia, yep.
That was a lot of fun.
Podcast movement. That was great.
And you are a big bugger too.
I am tall.
You're so much bigger than I expected. You don't look as tall on a podcast, but meeting you in person, I went, Super Joe is supersized. You're like a large fries.
I do. I am.
So
I mean, you're no small guy yourself, there, man.
Yeah, I'm not a midget, but yeah, I was surprised, and that's what I find funny when you can talk to people on social media, and you can know them for a couple of years. And then you meet them. There was another person, I went to her event, Renee Hasseldine, who's also been on the show. And I've watched a lot of her podcasts, watched a lot of her videos. I met her in person. She's about 2 foot tall. And, well, she's not 2 foot tall, but she was quite short. And I went, wow, you seem much taller.
2 meters, right?
Yeah.
2 meters.
I said, you're much taller on your podcast. And she just laughed. She says, yeah, I'm compact, but I'm powerful.
I love that.
So I want to talk about your TV show that has started. I think this is really, really exciting, and it's called The Top with Super Joe.
Yeah.
How did this start from your book? Because I know you were part of a family business, and you decided to get out there and start doing your own thing, and you do coaching all around the world with multi-million-dollar businesses. You've had successful books. How did the TV show start?
So I got reached out to by a TV network program director called BizTV here in the States. And she's like, I've watched your stuff. I love your stuff. And I would love to have you come and do a TV show on our network. And I think it wasn't even a TV show at the time. It was, I would love to bring your podcast onto our network. And when I started doing research about their network and I talked to her, we got on the phone and I was like, the podcast thing sounds cool. I do the podcast anyway. I really want to do a TV show. That's what I really like. That's been like a dream since I was little. Talking to my great grandmother, talking about like, I want to be on TV doing what they're doing. And at the time we were talking about Guts, which is a kid's show.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but anyway, the idea, was like, okay, well, do you want to do a talk show? I mean, that's what most of the shows that they have on that network do. And I was like, no, I want to have my own show that is in the same vein as like The Profit or Bar Rescue, where I go and I help small businesses with their, growth, right? Their team, their offer, the process, or the top. And they were like, ding, we love that idea. This is going to be awesome. I said, do you want me to like shoot a pilot or something? They're like, nope, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your energy. Just get it together, make it happen.
So how many shows did they sign you up for?
It's going to be 26 episodes. So
wow.
We're still trying. It's not on TV yet. We shot episode 1 last Monday. We went out to the first small business. She's been doing her own handmade crafts and selling them on Etsy for 4 years, and she's got some traction, but she's looking to really expand so that she could go full time with it and ditch all of her other financial responsibility.
And she's in the New Jersey area? She's in the same area in New Jersey?
She was in Monroe Township, which is about an hour and 20 minutes from me. It's almost New York. It's like a half hour outside of New York City. So I packed up my stuff. We got there about 6:30 in the morning, and we shot till we left there about 7 o'clock, got home about 8 at night. So it was a long, long day for sure.
And have you been on TV yourself before?
One time. It wasn't live. I did an interview for Princeton, New Jersey, public access TV, and I was told by some other people that it aired elsewhere apparently because they saw it like down in Delaware on like one of their public access TV channels. I've been talking with the network. I got the first episode. It's almost done. So I cut it down to 58 minutes and was like, I got to get it down to 23 and a half. So we got to do this. So I cut it down further. I'm down to 42 minutes at the current episode, like the current edit that I have. And I got to get it down a little bit further to get into that 23-minute range. Otherwise, I'm going to do an hour-long show. I might wind up doing an hour-long show. I haven't totally figured all this out. And I got to say, having the first business that we went to being a real small business, single owner, solopreneur, working out of their house, it was immensely helpful for me to not have the pressure of doing it at where it's like, oh, well, they have like 10 team members there, plus the owner, plus this person and that person. And I think it just really helped kind of solidify what I want the show to look and feel like. Because I don't want it to be like every other show. Like we did some things that I hadn't really seen on other shows. So like we didn't film the whole thing at our house. We filmed some things at the house. We filmed at a restaurant, and we also filmed at a park. And when we were at the park, we have a gimbal set up so that you can get the super smooth like footage, right?
All right, yeah.
And our camera operator walked backwards, and we just like walked through the park and talked, and we're talking business like as we're walking through the park. So like the whole time, it's only one camera angle, but it's we're moving. So you're walking with us and talking with us and part of that conversation. And I wanted to shoot the show in a vlog type of format because that's how I shoot most of my YouTube content is, in a vlog type of style. It's how my podcast gets filmed as well, because it's simple. And also because I like being able to play with the background and, the camera and that kind of stuff. So we also made sure that I wanted to bring on other guest experts because I don't know it all, right? And when you have something like, okay, this lady, she's doing arts and crafts. Okay, I'm not an arts and crafts person. My wife is an arts and crafts person. But I wanted to bring on somebody who has a lot of experiences, like an Etsy expert. So we got my friend Josh Taylor to Skype in onto the iPad and recorded that conversation between the business owner and Josh, and it was just a lot of fun. So he gave some really amazing advice to somebody who like I said, I'm not an Etsy person, so I don't have that background to relate everything I talk about with her to that. Now, what I helped her with was her numbers and also with her content calendar management, time management and that kind of stuff, as well as some space management. Because in my world, everything pays rent, as my first book talks about. Everything takes up space, and that space has to be the stuff that space is taking up. Or space is the stuff. The space that's taken up by that stuff has to be paying its rent in either necessity or entertainment, a want or a need. And she had a lot of stuff that has got to go.
So are you saying that some businesses have too much stock on shelves that is just sitting there and they're not moving? And they've got to identify what's not moving and actually move it so they can make space for stuff that does move.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, and that, like I said, that came out of my first book. Everything has to pay rent, and I learned that from doing the inventory management at my family's business and basically re-engineering the algorithm that we used to stock inventory in all 10 locations.
So because your background, you have a repair business, isn't it? It's a family repair business.
As well, yeah, that was after the fact. So it started as depends how far back you want to go, but there was two businesses: the repair business and the parts business. And the parts business is what I grew up in. When I left in 2014, I left the parts business. That was sold 1 year later. Now that I think I told you, I've returned to my family's business, but I've returned to the repair business, where we have one shop and we're working towards building a franchisable model going forward.
And I suppose even in that business, in a repair business, there'd be a lot of stock that you have on the shelf, but there'd be certain stock that is constantly turned over. And there'd be other items that, depending on what needs to be repaired, you don't need to have 10 of them sitting on the shelf if you're only using 2 a year. And that's a lot of money that's tied up in stock as well.
And the space. And that's my whole point is you're eating up that space, not just the money that cost to sit there, but you're eating up the space that you could be using for other things that you do actually use, or getting more of the things that you do actually use.
Okay, so with your show so far, there's 20-something episodes that are in planning. Do you have the businesses all lined up already, or you have half a dozen lined up and you're still looking for others? How do you pick?
Not yet.
How do you pick which business is eventually going to come on the show?
So we have a casting form that we put together that I kind of borrowed from another popular TV show.
So you have like a casting couch?
Well,
a casting couch for businesses.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I would say we have a casting form to basically, boil a boilerplate form to get people to, like, if they're serious about being on the show, they'll fill out this form and then we go out. I reach out to them. We have like a 15-minute, but with me, I like to talk, and generally business owners like to talk. So it ends up being probably about an hour-long interview process where I go and I have specific questions that go deeper into how I can help, right? And then what business experts can I bring in that I feel would be appropriate for that business. Now, whether they're physically there, like I hope to have you physically here in,
hopefully
this
in September
area of the world. Yeah, like if I can make that happen, I absolutely will be making that happen. And then once we go through that process, then it's just a matter of getting it scheduled up. We got really lucky with this first episode because the ladies' kids it was spring break for them. So the kids were out of the house and we were able to have the house to ourselves for the whole day to get all the filming done that we needed.
It's part of it too. When you're searching for a guest, they fill in the form and you have that initial interview with them. Is part of it also, can they talk in front of a camera? What do they sound like? What do they look like? Are they likable? Because you don't want to get somebody on there who's a grumpy old bugger who grouches and groans.
Because some drama isn't necessarily bad, right? Like, I'm not trying to gun my show, like pin it to be a drama-filled show.
Yeah.
But as I explained to some of the team members I'm working with, you gotta do what you gotta do to make it work, right? And sometimes it's gonna take me raising my voice. My voice is like shot right now, but sometimes it will take me raising my voice. Sometimes it will take, there will be things that are said that the person's not gonna like. They don't want to hear it. And just because they get involved with it doesn't mean that they're like, oh, this is gonna be perfect and it's gonna be great and I'm gonna hear everything that I want to hear up in my head. They end up hearing things they don't want to hear. So, sometimes it has to, there might be times where I end up having to walk away from it because it just isn't going to work, or there, something. It's like one part reality TV show, one part vlog, one part like Dr. Phil. So,
but not Gordon Ramsay. You don't go off like Gordon Ramsay and start really losing the plot, or occasionally I suppose I try not to, but like you never know, like if they see me or my guest expert or one of my team members that are there filming, that's not okay, or I'm sorry, even their own team members, they insult somebody, putting somebody down that's one of their team members, like that's not okay. Yeah.
And that's when you'll get my feathers up and all ruffled, and things might turn sour really quick. Because if they really want the help, then they have to be willing to be open for it, right? They can't. Having a closed mind towards being helped is not conducive to the show, B for them, B for their team, or C for the team, or D for me to be spending my time there. So to answer your original question, no, we don't have all the businesses yet, but the goal right now, and I think I was alluding to it earlier, is to get this first episode completed, get it on YouTube, and then blast out there. Like, we've had a few people trickle in and request to be on the show. But I think a lot of people, I get the vibe that people are waiting to see what it's actually like. I had the promo video. We shot that. It was cool. It took all day.
I remember watching the promo video, and it looked really good, really professional. And it looked like you really care about the businesses you're trying to help, which I think is the important part.
That.
I really think that's the important part, that you can see that you care. And that's why I was asking, were most of the businesses going to be New Jersey based? Because you were talking about New Jersey in the actual promo video.
Not necessarily. So I'm right now, with the current funding that we have, basically New York all the way down to Washington, D.C., which is within a less than 3-hour car ride. I'm open to flying out to somewhere else, but at that point, like, the business would have to be able to afford to like having that, because it's not cheap for me plus a camera person to fly and stay, or at least one night overnight, if not 2 nights overnight, get a rental car, food, transport equipment, and everything. So I'm open to it. It's just we haven't gotten there. Like, we've had a few out of town. Like, one was from Atlanta, Georgia. So I was like, I wrote back to the person. I was like, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you want to be on the show. Let me get back to you when we have the funding to get down to Atlanta, Georgia, because that's, I don't know, like 15 hours.
So
away.
Would a long-term vision be if it takes off well on BusinessTV.com and the show's picked up and it's going well, a bigger network would come along and say, hey, we love this concept. Joe, we love you. You're a great host. We want to bring this onto, like a big network and have it going right across, right around the world. Then the budget goes up.
Well,
I like the way you're laughing at that.
You're putting me in a situation where I don't, I'm open to everything, right? I really, I would love to find a way. One of the great things about this, the deal that I have with this network is that I will own the show. So it's not like it's not like I'm giving up the rights to the show. So like, oh, I want to go to a different network, or I want to take it, or I just want to take it to YouTube. Oh, you can't do that because we own it.
Okay. So this is your show.
So I could do that, but I don't, like I said, I'm worried about how do I get to episode 2 and how do I get some more sponsors on board so we can afford to say, hey, yeah, let's go to this business that's in California that can't afford to help fly us out there.
No, I think long term, I can see the show being very popular because I know Bar Rescue and those type of shows, people love watching them.
They do, but here's the thing. So in this episode, this first episode, there's not as much drama as most TV shows have, and it's also, like I said, it's filmed differently than other TV shows. So it's not. I think one of the important things that I learned here by doing this first episode was, when I have me and one camera person, we need to remember that we're really just one person, not 2 people pretending to be like 6 camera people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I learned, going through doing the editing, thinking through the process, thinking through how we filmed it and how we could go about filming the different pieces to future episodes in a way that helps speed up the process, because I spent a ton of time syncing audio and different video to the audio, and it just took a lot longer than it probably should have. And I think also trying to, like, okay, we have 2 identical camera setups. Let's utilize those rather than trying to set up 4 cameras because, well, TV requires 4 cameras because why not? Like, just because you have 4 cameras doesn't mean you have to use all 4 cameras. And I think it's just being more mindful, like, getting more creative with the angles that we're using, the way that we're showing off the stuff and not just being so direct. So some of the stuff that we filmed was a little more freeform, and some of the stuff was a little more like classic TV kind of format. So, I'm trying to edit all that together and blend it together. And I still have to do some shots here in my studio where I talk about kind of like break down some of the scenes, because like we were at the restaurant for like 2.5 or 3 hours talking about the numbers and the the operations of the business. But that gets boiled down to like right now it's at like 4 minutes. So
that's the editing process.
Yeah. So, and even that feels too long, even with having 3 different camera angles that I'm switching between. But when you watch like The Prophet or Bar Rescue, like they switch, in a lot of cases, they switch cameras every 1 to 3 seconds. Anything is longer than 3 seconds to the next camera jump is like for like an eternity. And once you realize that and start watching it, you're going to think, wow, it does feel like a really long scene. But I think that, when you watch like YouTube content and see where like the new media has taken it, I don't think that you need to have those jump cuts like every 1 to 3 seconds to necessarily to make it an interesting conversation. As long as, you're editing in a way that keeps the story moving. It doesn't like hit like slam on the brakes in the middle of the story and then all of a sudden like I'm gonna jam on the gas and go again, unless that's an intentional piece. But it's it definitely, it just have to be really mindful, I think, of the fact, like I have to be more mindful of the fact that like, look, I have 2 cameras but I really have 4 cameras I could use. I'm thinking about buying a 5th camera.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm not going to be able to set all those up by myself to record a 20-minute sit down. You just got to be more mindful, I guess, and not trying to fake 6 people.
Yeah. Are you going to you shoot the episode at any stage? You're going to go back to these businesses and see how they've progressed over a period of time, or once the show's done, the advice has been given, they nod their head and say, "Yes, Super Joe, we're going to listen to every single thing that you said, and we're going to do it." Are you going to go back and check?
So so with the first episode, at the very least, I'm working with the business owner for a month, to see how, to help see her through the changes and things that we talked about. I probably will come back, to my favorite businesses. She will most likely be one of them, especially because I think
you always remember your first.
Yeah. Yes, you do. And now I can't think straight. Thanks.
Sorry. That's just what I do as a host. I throw a spanner in the works. Sorry about that.
It's all good, Dr. T. Yeah, I will definitely be coming back, because she has such the growth potential that it makes a lot of sense to follow that story. Plus, she was just so great on camera and so good to us while we were there that I absolutely want to make sure that we get back. Now, will that happen in the first season? I don't know. It depends on how many businesses we get and how how it all plays out. So I'm hopeful that in the next week or so I'll be posting the first episode to YouTube for people to consume, get feedback, and go from there.
Okay, well, I'll be sharing it as soon as it comes out. I'll be sharing it for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Will you? Are you doing, like you said, you cutting it down to a 27 minutes of show?
Maybe. I still haven't decided if it's a half-hour show or an hour show.
Okay,
and I think it might end up being an hour-long show.
Yeah, and you were telling me that you recorded for about 13 hours, and then you've got to go from that 13 hours recording down to the to whatever the episode's going to end up being. So are you doing one show a week, or are you doing a couple of recordings during the week and then doing all the editing? What's the process you're going through with that?
I would probably want to kill myself if I had to do this more than once a week. The goal right now is to get at least 4 or 5 in the tank, because I have to deliver to the network about 10 days prior to it going live. And the way they do it is there's a couple different ways they could do it, but it's probably going to be 13 new episodes, then basically 13 reruns, and then 13 new 13 new episodes. So like a season would be split into two.
Okay. Is this harder? Likely. Is it harder than you expected?
Is it harder?
Well, not harder, but has it been more complicated, or there's been more work than you thought there would actually be when you first came up with the idea and first press record?
No, I think yeah, I guess it is harder because when I first got approached, about the thought that like, oh, this could be a reality. I could do my own show. I was like, yeah, but I want to write another book this year. I have a really good title and I have a really good idea of like a leadership book I want to write. But then I started to weigh out like, okay, is a book going to get me to where I want versus a TV show? Probably not, right? Yeah. So I was like, I think I need to go with this TV show because I think the time is right. Having two kids, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, we're past the can't sleep at night point, though. My 3-year-old is now going in like in the middle of the night, waking up and coming into our bed at like 2 a.m, which is really screwing me up. But I felt like it was the right time. I have the money to invest in the equipment and there's just a lot of little things that I didn't think about. And that's why I think I'm so glad I got past this first episode. And now that I'm getting it almost done in the editing process, I think it's actually going to end up being easier than I initially thought. Like I thought it was gonna be really tough, and I think part of that was I was even though I'm trying to be different from The Prophet, Bar Rescue, and those types of shows.
Yeah.
I think I was coming back into like falling into them.
And sometimes if a formula
how do we
works,
make it like that?
Yeah, if a formula works, I remember AC/DC being interviewed once, and they were talking to Angus Young, and they said, Angus, all your songs sound the same. And Angus went, well, when you bake a good chocolate cake, he said, why mess with the recipe? He said, the recipe works. Now, every now and then I can throw in a few extra ingredients, but I stick with the basics of the chocolate cake and I work it up from there. So I think certain TV shows, there's a certain element that people expect from the show, but then you've got to bring in your own personality. Yeah, you're like you're the cherries in the Black Forest cake.
But I want to push the boundaries of what people expect out of a TV show, and the whole thing is like building my own version of it and building my own vision of it is, I think, so much more important than trying to be like, okay, how do we make that TV show that is already made but with my personality? And like that's cool, but like, is that really what I want to be known for?
Yeah.
I want to be known for the person that like took the risk and said, yeah, we're going to do this differently. And my personality will carry it through the mistakes, and I will drag you through the mistakes with me, and we will learn from them, and we will change and adapt. And maybe some things end up being more like those shows. And there's a reason why I haven't seen it yet, as far as like, there's a reason why they build their show the way or like they do. But I also, again, you got to keep in mind, they have camera crews, multiple people, multiple cameras, editors, writers, probably a director and maybe even a co-director standing right there directing what's going on at all times. And this is not that show. And for me to try to fake that, like, I feel like it would come off very boring.
Yeah.
Like very boring, because I don't have somebody else thinking some of these, like thinking outside of what I'm able to think of. And that's where I think it's really important for me to just look, I'm doing this as a vlog style because this is what I know. This is how I can make it interesting. And I think it'll be different than what everybody else is doing in that genre.
Okay. So the network, have they had much to do with the creative process, or have they said, Joe, it's up to you? You run with it how you want to do it. We like we said right at the start, they like your personality. They like the way that you've done your podcast and you've done your vlogs and all that in the past. So they said, Joe, you've got total creative freedom to do what you want, which, tell you, getting that tick of approval is fantastic.
It is, right? Even if I wasn't able to accomplish this, it's an honor to be able to look at somebody and say, wow, like I really appreciate the fact that you appreciate what I do and how I go about doing it. And and you've worked with super big names, with super big networks and things like that in the past. So if you're watching and you know who you are, I appreciate that. Is this how you do the heart? Yeah, I appreciate you.
But I know, like, a mutual friend of ours, Eric Hunley, and you were on his podcast,
Yes.
Unstructured. And
I talk with Eric like every day now. It's awesome.
I know, so do I, or through Facebook and Messenger. But there was something Eric said to me, which I've really taken on board, and I'm trying to do more of it. And he kept saying, Tyson, just be yourself. Just when you're on your podcast, just be yourself. And like, we're videoing this now, so if anyone's listening to this, they'll eventually be able to watch the video. And we're sitting here now, and I'm wearing a hat, and I've got my glasses. And we were talking before about if I take my hat off, it looks really bad. So I'm going to leave the hat on for now. But I think that's with any show, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a vlog, whether it's your own TV show, because you are now going to be a TV celebrity. And what's good is I can say, I knew Super Joe when. but I think if you stay,
I don't ever want to get like that, though. No. I seriously, if I can bring everybody that's been with me on this journey along with me, that's really all the goal is. I mean, Dr. Super T, I've wanted to bring people to the top of their industry, the top of their niche, their world, since going back into high school when I started DJing, and was like, if I could use DJing to open up every door that I possibly can for the people that I know, love, and love and support me, that would just, that's how I win. That's the, some people say he who has the most toys wins. In my world, it's like he who can bring the most people to their door and open it wins.
Well, that was one of the things that you actually had in your book too, and it was, you have to make a choice. Do you want to make more money, or do you want to have more time? And I think some people get wound up in the making the money, and then they lose track of, why was I making the money in the first place? What was my purpose for doing it? What were my initial goals? And when they get there, they go past it, and they forget to look back and say, hang on, I've got enough now. Maybe I need to ease back and actually remember my kids' names. Which
my great grandfather said that he wishes that he had retired a lot sooner, because he had the money to do it, and he didn't really take time to enjoy it. I mean, he lived into his 80s, and he wishes that he had, because he used to give my dad a bunch of crap because he wanted to have a boat. My dad always was always in the boats since he was like real young, and he used to give him a bunch of crap about it. But he eventually came to say, like, hey, I wish I had, had a passion like that I had invested time into, because I could have retired and did that a long time ago, and I didn't.
Yeah, I think as a parent, most parents, they want their child to have a better lifestyle than what they did. And I know my parents definitely wanted that. And my lifestyle has been probably a lot better than my parents. I was talking to my mum just before we got on this call. I said, Mum, I've got to get off the phone. I've got to talk to Super Joe. She went, okay, I have no idea who that is, but that sounds great. She actually said, that sounds super. But I know I posted something on Facebook a week or so ago. My mum commented on it. And the quote was, my parents worked too hard for me not to be a success. And my mum said, when she saw that posted on Facebook, she just went, wow. She goes, we did work really hard. But they also took a lot of time. They spent a lot of time with us too. So we had a great lifestyle as kids growing up. Were my parents super rich? No, but we spent a lot of time together. And I think that's something important for people to remember, is remember why you start everything that you're doing. So even with you in the TV show, I think you're going to have to keep reminding yourself when you become a celebrity why you said, but don't worry, you've got friends like myself and Eric who will remind you who you were.
You're making me cry, by the way. I love that your mom saw that quote, and I think that is really, I think that is powerful, because I know from my experience, that, like, I'm doing everything I possibly can, not only to make my dreams come true, for myself, but for my family, and keep, to give my kids a better today than I had back when I was their age. Not that it was terrible, but there's things that can be improved upon, and those are the things I'm working darn hard to make sure that's where I'm focused. So hopefully I'm not missing the ball somewhere else. It's like you get so focused on the one thing, you're like, all right, don't screw this up. Oh, I screwed that up, and I didn't even realize that was a thing. It was an unknown because I was so focused on keeping track of that thing in front of me.
No, but I think you can tell. That's what I like about social media too, is you can tell. So I can tell on your social media page, like on Facebook, that you still spend a lot of time with your family because you see those photos coming through, on your feed. Whereas I know other people, the only thing I ever see on the feed is business related, and you never see anything about what they're doing with the kids or the family or friends. So I think that when I watch you from a distance, so I get inspired by other people. So you're wearing a shirt at the moment that says "Inspire." My shirt at the moment,
by a good friend of mine,
my shirt at the moment has Nike written on it, and. But I sit back and I watch other people, and I get inspired by what other people are doing, and I watch what you're doing, and that inspires me, which is why I wanted to get you back on here to talk about what you've been doing. But it's not just, I want to just take a slight deviation and talk about MAPCON, Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference. So for people that don't know, Super Joe is the founder of the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference. And how did that all start?
So I mean, I grew up, in a family business. We did a big event every year, where we'd have all of our customers come to like a vendor night, right? All the manufacturers would get their booth set up. You'd walk through the vendor area to a big buffet that was free, and it was great. And there was like seafood Newburgh and like all open bar. It was awesome. So I grew up around that, event planning and stuff like that. And I did LAN parties, and I've organized raves and other, been a part of other conferences. And once I got into podcasting, I was down in Florida in December. It was about, I don't know, 6 months into podcasting, 6 or 7 months into me podcasting. And I went to a podcast one-day event hosted by Lou Mangello and Jared Easley. Jared Easley runs the Podcast Movement. And I was like sitting there. I just got home, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, I could do this. Like, I mean, I've done all kinds of events, from the sound and the video and all kinds of events. So I'm like, I could totally do this. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to organize a group and I was thinking originally Philadelphia, but then I saw like there's a Philadelphia Podcaster Society, and I was like, well, let's do bigger than that. Let's go like the Mid-Atlantic region, because I'm going to host the thing in the Mid-Atlantic region. It doesn't necessarily mean it's just for Mid-Atlantic podcasters, but it's held in the Mid-Atlantic because that's where I live.
Yeah.
And I started up the Facebook group, and was like, we just started inviting people, and then it turned into, hey, let's do our first meetup in New York City. And we had like 15 or 20 people show up to that. And I was like, all right, bam, let's do it. September. This was in like, I think March we had the meetup. I was like, let's do September. We're gonna get a space, and we're gonna have our first conference. And I did it, and it was, we had like a little under 50 people show up at a school gymnasium, Catholic school gymnasium that I was able to get for free because I taught a podcasting course to the middle schoolers of that school for like 10 weeks, which was awesome. I got to have this I never taught this class before, so I got to teach a class with kids. Made some really bad mistakes that I still feel bad about to this day.
What was? Tell us one of the mistakes you made.
Okay, so
give us a laugh.
So it's really not. It's really sad. We were picking roles for the podcast, like who was going to host, who was going to put together different sections of the podcast. And the host, we ended up doing one of those, like, everybody put their hand down and like, okay, who wants Bill? All right, everybody put your head down, raise your hand if you want Bill. And who wants this person, this kid and this kid and this kid. And the one kid was, very, he was just recently on TV at the time, like real recently, like with Gordon Ramsay, like recently on the MasterChef Junior. That's how I got involved with the whole school. I interviewed Andrew and all that. So, but he was like really boisterous about the fact that he should be the host of this podcast, and apparently nobody else thought so. So so he was the only one that raised his hand, and of course he was pressing me like right after I was like, okay, John, he's got the job, and then he was pressing me, and I was like, well, you were the only one that voted for yourself. And I was like, oh, as soon as I said it, I'm like, no, I shouldn't have said that. So I felt really bad.
Poor bugger.
Because it probably wasn't, it probably wasn't good. But I mean, the thing was it made it, and if anything, I think it was a bit of a wake up call for him to like kind of dial it back a little bit, because he was just being a little too boisterous for all of his classmates.
Okay, so let's get back on to MAPCON.
Yeah. So anyway, we host MAPCON there. The next year we were like, okay, we're going to go and host it at a Holiday Inn that's like down the street from me. And we hosted it the second year there, and it grew to like 75 people. And then the next year it grew to like 100, and then a little over, I think it was like 110 or 115 this past year. And with being the 5th year of MAPCON, I wanted to kick it up a notch. So I'm like, you know what? We're going to Atlantic City. So we have, it's going to be hosted at the Ocean Resort Casino down in Atlantic City, which is about an hour south of Philadelphia. So it's a little bit of a drive. I was a little bit nervous because I'm like, it's not 20 minutes from the airport, like where our current location is, and our current location is a lot cheaper than where we're going. So, I was a little nervous. And we're gunning for about 200 attendees this year. It's a 2-day event starting at if you come for the podcasting course, which is me and Samantha Riley of Australia is actually going to be co-hosting with me a private podcasting course to elevate your podcast and like help turn it into your business, starting at 9 a.m. on that Friday, September 6th till 12. There's a private lunch that you get included. And then the conference officially starts at 1:00 on Friday, September 6th, goes till 6:00, and then it's the next day all day from 8 to 6 on Saturday the 7th.
And you've got another Australian speaking at that conference as well.
And this guy,
which is me. I'm looking forward to it. Yes. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to having you too. It's so surreal year after year to have so many awesome people come. And I keep getting told about the MAPCON family and how much people really feel a connection. And I think a lot of that has to do, I want to take some of the credit for that because it's, I'm hosting it, but really, I really think it has a lot more to do with the fact that it's one room. So it's in classroom style. Everybody's in the same room. So you're like sitting next to people like the Dave Jacksons and Jessica Kupfermans, the Tom Tates and the Matthew Passeys and who else? We've had Rob Greenlee there of Spreaker. Like, we've had all these people like, high profile people in the podcasting world come, and you're in the room with them all day long. Mark Asquith from England. Like we've had people from all over the country, from California, Washington State, the UK, now Australia. It's called the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference, but it's definitely not just for people in the Mid-Atlantic.
No, well, basically, any podcast, people can learn from any podcast conference that they go to. I actually spoke for the Cassowary Coast Businesswomen's Club last night, and my topic was, I talked about podcasting and audio. That's that they contacted me, said, will you come and talk to our group? There's about 30 ladies there. And I went down, spoke to them about, the myths behind podcasting and what it was all about and how you do it and how can you use audio, not just podcasting itself, but just audio in general to actually promote and market your business. And it was a great night. I really enjoyed it. It was at an Italian restaurant in Innisfail, Sapori, if anyone's looking for some awesome food in Innisfail. And Alf owns the business. So, but it was a really good night. Alf.
Like Alf the alien?
Yeah, no, he doesn't look like Alf the alien, just Alf. Nice bloke. But it was just, when you get out there and you share the message and you realize how powerful podcasting and audio in general can be, you don't need to be from Mid-Atlantic to go along to a Mid-Atlantic podcast conference. So anyone that's listening to this, if you need an excuse to go to Atlantic City, here's your excuse. And you can hang out with Super Joe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm there the whole time.
And
I
what'd you say,
barely get to.
Sam Riley from Australia? She's not a swimmer, is she?
No, she's not the swimmer.
Not
She's
the
not the
swimmer.
I think she's an Olympian. Yeah, she's not the Olympian.
Okay, I'm gonna go and check out this other
She's a
Sam Riley.
dancer, but she's not. Yeah, she's not the Olympian. I know who you're referring to,
Oh, that's
though.
good. I'm glad you knew the other name. So, what's on the horizon for Joe? What's on after this? So you got the TV show going, that's going to kill it, and a huge network's going to eventually pick you up, and you'll be Super Joe. The Mid Atlantic Conference is going to keep getting bigger. So what? And you're probably expecting bigger numbers this year. You want to write another book about leadership. What else is on the horizon for Joe? Where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years' time?
In 5 years' time, hopefully I'll have a few more books. Hopefully I will have a lot of businesses that I'm invested in. Because the goal is to grow the show into being able to invest in those businesses. I want to own a mansion, like a Victorian mansion. So there's one by my house that's not too far from here. I want to buy it so bad, but I don't have, like, my money is tied up. Like, I'm trying to pay debt down so I can invest in that. And the reason is because I want to build a location for creators to rent studio space. So basically, I want like 6, 7, 8 other creators to come and rent like studio spaces in this mansion that is from like a Victorian mansion. So it's got a lot of character, and also hosting events out of it. So like weddings and things, because like the place that we're looking at has like 2 acres, so there's plenty of space to host like a 50, 100 person wedding to host inside. I would love to host MAPCON there. I mean, that would just be like, that would be awesome.
So is it for sale at the moment, or you're just going to go up and make an offer one day?
Yeah, it literally is for sale for at the moment, and it's supposedly, and I don't know for sure because I haven't gotten all the details back, but supposedly, according to the internet, it's listed for $500,000 when it was $1 million not that long ago, which is why I was like we need, and it was recently mostly re-renovated, and it even has central air.
So the stars are aligning up for you, and the gods are speaking to you, Super Joe. They're going, Super Joe.
The money, man.
Yeah.
That's where I gotta get but like I said, I want to rent it to people who are creative. Like, I don't want a bunch of accountants there unless they're really open, because I want to be able to host events with those creators and have a place where it's like it's called the Holly Bush, if you want to look it up. The Holly Bush in Winona, New Jersey. And I would love to buy this place. I really haven't told a whole lot of people this, so I'm putting it out there.
You're putting it out there?
I want to buy a place that's just so awesome, that just brings people together to like create and create awesome things, whether it's games or artwork or video or podcasting or whatever it is. I want to rent space to those people and just surround myself with those type of people.
So what we're going to do is, after you buy it and you get this all set up, we need to get you back on to talk about the process of buying it, how you set it up, and how that whole creative space has actually boomed and taken off for you.
That is going to be a little ways away from now. I'd like to say I could come back on the show a little sooner than that. Because like the money thing is probably the hardest part right now. If financing 500,000, I got to come up with probably about 100,000, which is, I mean, if I had all my finances in order right now, I probably could pull it off. I could probably pull it off if I had everything like to the T. Like,
would you consider having an investor coming in and doing it with you, or has Super Joe always been, no, I need to do my own thing. I don't play well with others?
It would have to be the right person who had the exact vision that I did for it. It would really, really, because the other thing is like that specific man. It doesn't have to be that specific mansion, but because of the price is why it's like, hey, because the location isn't ideal. Ideally, the place would be a little bit further north to be closer to like Center City, Philadelphia. But the building is so cool looking that I think it would supersede that, like, because people would be drawn to this cool place. And it is kind of off of a main road and a main highway. So it's not too far, like it's not too far removed. But yeah, I would need somebody that wants to do like that has the same vision, that's like, hey, we could rent this for events, we can have creators here, we could host different, like MAPCON there. Like that would be so awesome to have MAPCON there. Now the only problem is that the closest hotel is like, it's a little bit of a drive, but how cool would it be to have like 150 people come or 200 people come to MAPCON at my mansion?
Yeah, but
even though I'm not living there, I have no
Uber
interest
would be
in living in a 1884 built mansion.
You get Uber to sponsor the event, and then everybody just stays at whatever motels they want. Uber is sponsoring it. They give us a discount code. Bang! Everybody is there every day. Uber will love it. You'll love it. And I love the vision.
That could definitely be possible.
I think it's a good vision. And I think you need to have those sort of things. You need to always be looking at what's next, because I think a mistake that some people often make in business in general is they're doing certain things, they achieve the goal, and then they go, oh, now what's next? Instead of having that vision.
More, man.
Yeah, what's next before you actually reach that goal? I think you've got to have a bit of a plan on where you're actually going. So if people want to get hold of Super Joe, all they've got to do is go to superjoepardo.com. That is correct, isn't it?
That is very correct. And if you want to get involved with MAPCON, midatlanticpodcast.com. Dr. T, I do have one other story to tell you about the day of shooting. So we get there at like 6:30 in the morning, and it's so funny because I think it was we didn't. I didn't start helping the business owner with her business until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because we were shooting so many of like we get there, and it just feels kind of awkward, right? Like I kind of felt like, I hope she doesn't think I'm like a fraud, because I've been here and I've been shooting like the outside of the house and flying the drone over the neighborhood and doing all these different shots, and like we're walking around our house and checking out her products and introducing her and her business and her family and all this stuff. But like, and then we shot a little bit out of sequence the call with the Etsy expert Josh Taylor, and I kept thinking to myself, like, man, I hope she doesn't think like I can't help, like, oh no, is he really even going to be able to help me? Because he's been there for so long and hasn't actually like talked to me about the business side of things yet.
But once you got to the end of the day, what was her response? How did she feel after the recording? She was really happy with the whole process?
Yeah. For the most part with the whole process, or process, as you guys say.
Process. I can use process. I speak both languages.
We said diary earlier, which I got on Sam about that. I was like, you mean your calendar? And she's like, yes. So yeah, I just she was very, very happy with the process of how everything went. I just, in the moment I kept thinking like, oh no, like it just seems like we've been here so long, because we had been there so long, and I still hadn't filmed anything. Like I haven't even sat down to talk to her about numbers or her process or anything. So like I'm like, man, I hope she doesn't think like oh no, is he actually going to even help me, or is this all just like one big like interview?
Yeah, but I think that's part of the process. Is process or process, whatever you want to do. But I was mentioning before we press record that when we were shooting TV commercials for my podiatry business, and we'd be doing 2 hours of shooting to create a 30-second commercial, because we would be doing it from so many different angles. And I'm running around, like I said before, like Spielberg, just going off at everybody, going, no, I want this angle here. You're not doing this right. But then when it finally all comes together, you go, right, all that extra time really pays off. And you probably find all the different angles you shot at different times. You're like, I don't even know if we're going to use this. But then all of a sudden you go, that was the perfect angle. I'm glad we spent the extra time doing it.
It is. I mean, that's one of the things, like I was saying about like, one of the things I'm nervous about with the idea of like, okay, if I have 2 cameras, I can make this work. And I know I can make it work it's just a matter of not not judging myself on the same level as a show that has six camera people, a director, and a bunch of editors and writers and a whole team of people to make it happen versus like this is just me. And talking with a good friend of mine from what, like, one of my previous clients, what he said he really loved about the idea of the show is, he's like, well, I watched the profit and I watched the behind the scenes of it and all that stuff, and he's like, I really feel like Marcus Lemonis is playing a character of himself in the show because he's not in control of what's really happening.
Yeah.
He's not controlling the creative process. He's not controlling the editing process. He's not, apparently, according I haven't researched, but according to him, the producer is the one picking all the businesses that he goes to. So he doesn't even like get to pick that. So, it's, and what he's saying is like, what makes you so much more interesting is the fact that you're doing all of that and you're like fully involved with the process. So I kind of, like I said, I feel like I have to keep reining myself back in and thinking like, okay, so I'm just one person with one camera person and this is how we need to do it, because otherwise we're just trying to fake being too much, and got to constantly bring myself back in and not compare myself to other shows like, oh, well, that's how they did it. But,
No, I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to it coming out, and I'll promote it for you. And I'm sure other people. There's a lot of people that know Super Joe, and there's a lot of people that think you're great. So I'm sure a lot of us are going to get behind you and push this thing out as much as possible. So Super Joe, I want to thank you for coming on It's No Secret with Dr. T. And I just want to remind people, if you want to check out Super Joe, go to superjoepardo.com or go and check out the Mid-Atlantic Podiatry Conference. My God, what am I thinking? What was that? This has been the difficult thing for me.
Say all bugger or something like, is that?
Yeah, yeah, because I do podcasting and I was a podiatrist, I get the words mixed up all the time. Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference. There's probably a podiatry conference out there as well in the same area, but you want to go to the podcast conference, not podiatry conference. So, Super Joe, thank you for coming on It's No Secret with Dr. T. This has been fun.
It's been fun, Dr. Super T. I really appreciate you having me, and I look forward to the coming weeks and months as we get this show rolling here. I'm excited just to get out and help small businesses, help business owners that are struggling with the weight of their business and their life, because it all gets mixed together. So I think it's a real honor to be able to be trusted by people to get to go and do that, just like I do with my clients. So I'm just ecstatic. And like I said, I still can't fully believe that this is actually like happening. I'm still waiting for me to wake up and be like, oh, and then I've even had like, oh, my plan D or E or F is, though this stuff is still happening, it's going to go on YouTube if that's, if something falls through, but it's happening.
Well, what I love, if this is a dream, it's pretty awesome. I'm actually in it.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up and go,
get out of my dreams and into my car, Dr.
Yeah. Okay, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to Super Joe Pardo today. I always find it a blast talking to him, and I find his enthusiasm very infectious. And I hope listening to him today, you could feel that enthusiasm and the passion he had for this TV show. And I think it's amazing that you can shoot for 13 hours and then have to bring it down to 27 minutes. That would be so difficult to do. But also, I just want to point out that the show is now live. You can watch it on YouTube. I've got a link in my show notes. But if you want to find it on YouTube, just go to Super Joe Pardo, find the channel, click on there, and episode 1 of The Top with Super Joe is available to watch. And it is a great episode. I got to see a sneak preview before it actually went live, and then I watched it again when it was being telecast live. So it is a great show and worth checking out. Before I go, just want to point out, if you're a podiatrist and you're thinking of attending an event that's a little bit different, we've got one coming up on the 7th and 8th of June this year on the Gold Coast. It's about biomechanics and marketing. All the details are on my website, tysonfranklin.com. Just click on what I do, drop-down box will pop up, or drop-down box will drop down, and there, click on events and all the details are there. Okay, that's it from me. Look after yourself, look after your family, and I will talk to you again next week. Bye for now.
My name is Eric Hunley, and I host Unstructured. On Unstructured, I have intimate conversation with a diverse range of people. I've interviewed a presidential candidate and a felon, not the same person. I've even chatted with a musher. Yep, a sledder behind a pack of dogs. And in these conversations, we learn what drives these folks. Please, come check out Unstructured. You can find Unstructured wherever you listen to podcasts.